Welcome to Dreamy Tales English. I'm David. Tonight, we have a special story for you. It's called The Shadow Puppeteer of Henan. Henan is a province in central China that has been called the cradle of Chinese civilization. For over 5,000 years, the people of Henan have farmed the yellow earth, built cities, fought wars, and told stories. And among all the stories they have told, none is older or more magical than the shadow puppet show. Shadow puppetry is an ancient art form that dates back over 2,000 years. It involves cutting figures of people and animals from thin sheets of donkey hide, painting them in bright colors, and mounting them on sticks. Then, behind a white screen illuminated by a lamp, the puppeteer moves the figures while narrating the story, creating the illusion of living, breathing characters dancing across the light. The puppets are beautiful. They are carved with incredible detail. Every fold of clothing, every strand of hair, every expression on the face carefully cut and painted. When held up to the light, they glow like stained glass windows, casting colorful shadows on the screen that seem to move with a life of their own. Master Wong was 74 years old when he gave his last shadow puppet show. He had been performing since he was 12 years old, when his father, also a puppeteer, had taught him the craft in a small village outside Luoyang. For 62 years, Master Wong had traveled across China with his troupe, performing for villagers, tourists, and children. He had told stories of heroes and heroines, of gods and demons, of love and war, of the eternal struggle between good and evil. But by the time Master Wong was 70, the world had changed. Television had replaced live performance. The internet had replaced books. And shadow puppetry, once one of the most popular forms of entertainment in China, had become almost extinct. Few people remembered it. Fewer still wanted to learn it. Master Wong's son had moved to Beijing and become a software engineer. His daughter had moved to Shanghai and become a doctor. Neither of them had shown any interest in the puppet show, and Master Wong had not blamed them. He understood that the world was changing and that some things had to be left behind. So he had retired. He had packed away his puppets, sold his troupe's equipment, and returned to his village in Henan to live out his remaining years in peace. But peace, as it turned out, was not enough. One autumn afternoon, when Master Wong was sitting alone in his courtyard watching the leaves fall from the persimmon trees, there was a knock at the door. He opened it to find a young woman standing on his doorstep. She was 24 years old, with short black hair and bright eyes, wearing a backpack and a smile that seemed out of place in the quiet village. "Are you Master Wong?" she asked. "I am," he said. "Can I help you?" "My name is Ling. I'm a student at Beijing Film Academy. I'm making a documentary about traditional Chinese arts, and I wanted to film you." Master Wong looked at her for a long moment. Then he shook his head. "There is nothing left to film. I am an old man with old puppets and an old story. The world has moved on." Ling smiled. "Then let me show you something." She opened her backpack and pulled out a tablet. On the screen was a video, a shadow puppet show, performed by a young puppeteer in a modern theater in Beijing. The puppets were the same as Master Wong's, carved from donkey hide, painted in bright colors, mounted on sticks. But the story was different. It was a new story written by a young playwright, about a young woman who leaves her village to chase her dreams in the city. Master Wong watched the video in silence. His eyes grew wet. When it was over, he looked at Ling and said, "Who made this?" "A student at Beijing Film Academy," Ling said. "Her name is also Ling. She learned shadow puppetry from me, from filming you, from studying your techniques, from understanding the philosophy behind the craft. And now she's telling new stories with old puppets." Master Wang sat down on a wooden bench in the courtyard. He thought about his son in Beijing, his daughter in Shanghai, and the young Ling with her tablet and her dreams. He thought about the 62 years he had spent traveling across China with his troupe, telling stories to people who cared nothing about him but loved the stories he told. And he thought about the puppets in his storage room, dusty, forgotten, waiting. "Come inside," he said. "I will show you my puppets." And so Ling entered Master Wang's storage room, a small, dimly lit space at the back of his house, filled with boxes and crates and the faint smell of aged leather. In one corner, wrapped in cloth and stacked neatly on shelves, were the puppets, hundreds of them, each one a character from a different story. There were warriors with swords, princesses with fans, gods with beards, demons with horns, and animals of every shape and size. Master Wang picked up a puppet of a young warrior, a character from the story of Mulan, the legendary female soldier who disguised herself as a man to fight in her father's place. The puppet was carved from thin donkey hide, painted in red and gold, with long black hair and fierce eyes. "This is Mulan," Master Wang said, holding the puppet up to the light. "She is brave, clever, and strong. She fights not because she wants to, but because she has to. And when she wins, she does not take credit. She goes home." Ling looked at the puppet and felt something stir inside her. "Can I try?" she asked. Master Wang nodded. He handed her the stick, showed her how to hold it, and demonstrated the basic movements. How to make the puppet walk, how to make it draw its sword, how to make it bow. Ling tried to move the puppet. Her first attempts were clumsy. The puppet stumbled, fell, and looked more like a drunken chicken than a warrior. But Master Wang did not laugh. He simply corrected her hands, adjusted her grip, and said, "Again." She did this for 3 hours. By the end of the afternoon, she could make the puppet walk across the courtyard, draw its sword, and strike a heroic pose. It was not perfect, no beginner's performance ever is, but it was honest. And in that honesty, Master Wang saw something he had not seen in a long time. Hope. "Stay," he said. "Learn, and when you are ready, teach others." And so Ling stayed in the village for the next 3 months. Every morning, she woke before dawn, walked to Master Wang's house, and sat at his side as he taught her the art of shadow puppetry. She learned how to cut the donkey hide with a small knife, how to paint the figures with natural pigments, how to mount them on bamboo sticks, and how to move them across the screen with grace and precision. She learned that shadow puppetry was not just about moving figures behind screen. It was about storytelling, about capturing the human spirit in leather and light, about creating illusions that made people feel, think, and dream. And she learned that the most important thing in puppetry was not the skill of the hands, but the intention of the heart. A puppet moved with love would come alive. A puppet moved without love would remain dead. One evening, as Ling and Master Wang sat in the courtyard watching the sunset, he handed her a small wooden box. Inside was a puppet, a young woman holding a tablet, her eyes bright with determination. "I made this for you," he said. "It is called the documentary maker. She tells stories about stories that are being forgotten, and she makes sure that those stories are never lost." Ling held the puppet in her hands and felt tears on her cheeks. "Thank you," she whispered. Master Wang smiled. "Do not thank me. Thank yourself. You are the one who came to learn. You're the one who stayed. And you are the one who will teach others." When Ling returned to Beijing at the end of the 3 months, she did not finish her documentary. Instead, she dropped out of film school and opened a small shadow puppet theater in the old part of the city, a theater dedicated to keeping the ancient art alive by telling new stories with old puppets. She hired 3 young puppeteers, students from Beijing Film Academy who had learned the craft from her, who had learned it from watching her film master Wong, who had learned it from a tradition that stretched back over 2,000 years. And every evening, when the lights went down and the white screen glowed behind them, Ling and her troupe would perform, moving puppets across the light, telling stories of heroes and heroines, of gods and demons, of love and war, of the eternal struggle between good and evil. And sometimes, when the story was about a young woman who left her village to chase her dreams, Ling would think of Master Wong and the words he had spoken in the courtyard. "You are the one who will teach others." And she would smile, move her puppet across the screen, and let the shadows dance. Good night and sweet dreams.